Hello, Jenna.
Hi, Nathaniel.
How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
So, first time being on XView Infinite or on my channel in totality.
Indeed, I know.
How was that?
Oh, wonderful experience. It was great. Very good. Yeah.
It, it's it's kind of it's really funny too, because like with this specific uh story we just did with Genna,
Yep.
there's it's like a new character.
I know.
But then there's like so many references to previous stuff that we've done on the channel before.
Yeah, it's cool to be a part of the lore now. Having, because you filmed everything before I met you and Benjamin. And so having gone back and watched everything, when I first met you guys, it's cool to now be a part of it and be on the channel.
I mean, by Ben, it's funny too because like not super on purpose, had a lot of references to his character in Finite Heroes.
Indeed, yeah.
Because like Regna
Yep.
was very much part of his Thor character.
Indeed, yep.
And so it's like kind of funny how it's like
yep,
it's just
everything. Yep.
But it's I have a feeling it's gonna come out so well.
Yeah. I'm excited.
At the point of this, I haven't edited it.
I know, yeah. I'm excited to see. But just the dailies looked good. So yeah.
Forest. I love that forest. It's so fun to film there. It's so quiet. There's not a lot of people walking by. We only saw like one person in the forest.
I think 1 or 2 people walked by. Yep. And then there was that nice floof on the way out.
I love the floof.
Cute.
It is so cute. So what do you do creatively? What I've been asking this question to everybody. It's like we kind of talked about this a little bit, that you might start making some videos.
I might. So I've always been a very creative person. I used to do theater. I was a props master, which involves a lot of creativity and just making things out of nothing. But I've also been a game master for Dungeons and Dragons for, oh gosh, like 6 years now.
I find that's cool because that helps a lot with like learning how to write stories.
It does, yeah, and it really works on your improv skills as the game master, because you never know what the players are going to do or what they're going to come up with. You try to guide them along the path, but they almost never follow it completely. So
that's almost all we do on this channel is improv. It's
right.
like we have like, hey, here's a couple beats we want to do. I don't know how to get there, but let's just try a few things.
Let's just do it. But yeah, so when I started, I had an in-person game back in Georgia when I lived there, and I really wanted an immersive game for my players, so I invested a lot in miniatures. And then COVID happened, and so we ended up going virtual, and we're still virtual because we're all dispersed all over the country now. But, I ended up with like 2 Kickstarters full of miniatures arriving right before I moved to Maine. And now I have like over 3,000 individual pieces of terrain and miniatures that are just unpainted that I should probably do something with. So I've been toying with the idea of just letting people follow me on that journey. I'm by no means an amazing miniature painter. I couldn't stand in any like competitions, because they have competitions and people do these just amazing techniques between shading and something called object source lighting, which is where if there's like a lantern on the miniature, you make it look like the lantern is glowing and actually lighting up the rest of the miniature. It's insane.
That's cool.
People do insane things painting on incredibly small and 3-dimensional surfaces. I'm not there. I just paint for miniatures going on the tabletop, and I hope one day to run an in-person game again where I get to use all those miniatures. But
cool.
I figure for now I'll just work on painting and let people follow them. They'll get to see some interesting first experiences. I'm going to learn to use an airbrush live. Using a wet palette, all kinds of different things they're going to get to watch me do and be adorably horrible at it for the first time. So I think it'll be a fun time for folks. But
that sounds exciting.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I feel like it's fun to watch, like, those videos of people doing stuff super well.
Right.
But I love the videos of like going on a journey with someone.
Right. Yeah.
And seeing the arc of, oh, I learned something.
Exactly. And I think I love that level of authenticity and just being open to people about it. And I think in this age of social media, we need more of that. We need more of
Yeah.
people doing things awkwardly first before they actually get good at it, because that's just the
And
process,
it's
always
realistic
creatively.
and
Yeah, you always have to suck at something before you become good at it. And I think it will help a lot of people on their own creative journeys to see that happening versus just this constant barrage of perfect facades and not the
I was
work that goes
I
in
was gonna
behind it.
say it could also help with like the mental health issues we're having
Exactly.
from social media, where it's like,
Right.
oh, I'm not matching that
I'm not
perfection.
perfect. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
How do I get there? And
Yeah.
then no matter what you do, you don't because it's not real
Right, exactly. Yeah.
and
Yep.
stuff. But that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited.
You mentioned that you've done some stage work.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
what was that like? I've never done a play. I've never done a musical. I love musicals. I love
Right.
plays. I love watching it.
Yes.
But as far as like acting and stuff, I've only done it really on video.
Yeah.
Other than like I think that I had like one show I did like at a church when I was
Gotcha.
super
Yep.
young,
Yep.
just once,
Yep.
and I was like never again.
Yeah. So what I love about theater, even over filmmaking and stuff like that, because I've helped a couple people with film projects before this, but I love that it's immediate and it's in that moment and it only exists in that moment. And I think that creates this sort of camaraderie and this bond between both the people on stage and backstage and the audience. We as people on stage, backstage prepare for months and months and months and months, but that moment of day of show, running it, and there's no going back. If things mess up, you have to just roll with it, but you get that there's a feedback that comes from an audience being involved that you just can't replicate anywhere else.
Right.
It's amazing and wonderful. And then on top of that, in being part of the show, the camaraderie you form with everybody else in the show through that process of just so many months of rehearsals and constantly adding to, first it's just reading scripts, and then you're adding in blocking, and then we're adding in props, and then it's full dress rehearsals. And there are these little sort of mini bonds and relationships that form that never really go away. I mean, you can see someone from a show from ages ago. And I think that happens to a certain extent in filmmaking,
Sure.
but I think just that immediacy of
Right.
theater, I love it so much.
I hear a lot of people, which I think is what you're talking about, where it's that moment when something funny happens on stage, you immediately get that laugh. You
Yes.
immediately, get that crying or that,
Exactly.
versus being like, okay, I made this thing and now I'm gonna put it out and now I have to wait.
Yeah.
And maybe nobody says anything about
Nobody,
it.
right. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. That immediate feedback is there's like a high to it. There's just, yeah. Yeah. It's great.
So you've done like you've acted on stage?
I have. So I was fortunate to be part of a program at Valdosta State University where they believed in cross training. So while I did a technical track, because that's where I was focused, I really enjoy that. I did props and lighting. And then since we were such a small technical department, learned to do pretty much everything else technical wise. But we had to take classes for stage acting and act on stage. And I acted in high school as well on stage. And then the actors had to also take technical classes. So they learned how to build flats and that kind of stuff, which was at some point scary as the scene shop assistant handing the actor the pneumatic stapler. You're like, oh, please don't hurt yourself or somebody else. But no, they were really good. And I feel blessed that I got to be part of a collegiate program that does that level of cross training where everybody has to participate. So you all really know and appreciate what the other side is doing. And as a props master, I was a professional props master, and I always joke about my actors and how difficult they can be sometimes, but you love them. And once you learn the process, like I think we don't give actors necessarily enough credit. We, used to joke in high school and college, some people, they'd go to 8 a.m. class and they'd have a pop quiz, but in acting classes, it's like you go to 8 a.m. class and you have to have an emotional breakdown in front of all your peers. So it's not as simple as people
No.
think, and there's really a lot of technique to it and digging into
Yeah.
human emotion and human experience. So
Yeah.
it was good to get to see that side and learn that side, so you can appreciate who you're working with.
Acting is tough
It is.
because I find it's like one of those things where there's a way you think it looks,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're like, I must do that, but then it's not comes off really unnaturally. And so then you have to like actually do this whole thing of like doing something that's unnatural and then it comes out more naturally.
Exactly. Yes, and even more so on film. Like in theater,
Y-
in theater you do so like it's big movements and stuff like that, but that's because the audience is far away.
Yeah,
But in film, you have to remember to still kind of do that, but with a camera right here,
at your
and it
face.
just feels like, ugh.
Ugh. So with stage design, did you have, or as a prop master, like how much did you have to design for a show?
So it depends a lot. So usually in props, you fall under the scene designer. And so depending on what scene designer you work with, some of them will just say they give you a general idea or sort of a mood or theme to go with. And then you work very closely with them. You know, you they come and they review stuff. Some of them want something very specific. And it's the same way with different directors. You know, everybody has their own creative artistic style. So you kind of fall under that organizational flow chart. I was lucky to work with some very open people. I learned a few hard lessons too, working with some people who were a little more rigid on having to be adaptable in my own process. Um, but I did get to be very creative on a lot of things.
Cool.
So yeah.
So when you're like doing props, do you have to like, so to a degree, I assume you have to go find some. So like if there was like a musical that had a musket duel sort of thing, you had to go find actual
Yes.
musket. Do you build them or do you?
So it all depends on what's available to you. Most of the time when you're working for a theater company, they will have a props loft, so they have a specific allotment of different types of props and stuff that they've kind of collected over the years from estate sales, thrifts, just previous shows and stuff. And then if what you need is not in there or you can't kind of construct what you need from there, something like a musket or something you'd have to go out and search for or buy generally. Nowadays, there's so much great work in foam. And cosplay has really sort of made its way into the props world,
Right.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I love to see it. The things people are doing are
So cool.
insane. So you could construct it, and it just kind of depends on what's available to you, what's the best methodology to get your end result, and then also that time constraint, because you usually only have a few months from the time you're accepted for the show and get the script and start talking with the scene designer to actually make these things happen.
Now, for the most part, like I'm used to like going to like a Broadway show or a traveling show
Yep.
where it's like these shows like they have months and months to practice and then they're just going for months on end.
Yeah.
Most shows in smaller communities are not like that.
Right.
It's only like a few weekends.
Yep. Yep.
But then you still have those months and months too.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So have you done like a longer term show or?
So I was props master for a summer stock theater at Valdosta State, actually, the Peach State Summer Theater. So that was, I think it was a total of 4 months or so of employment, but we ran 3 shows. And so there was, maybe it was 5 months. But so there was about a month of prep work before we got the first show off the ground. And so you open that show, there's, another couple weeks and you open the second show, and then you open the third show, and they're all musicals, and then they rotate through.
Oh, cool.
We ran shows for, I think, about 2.5, 3-ish months.
Okay. Oh, wow.
So I've had that
That's
longer, yeah, kinda group, but a lot of what I've done has been that,
2 or 3
work on one
weekends.
show, it goes for a couple weeks or weekends, and then you're on to the next thing, so,
Cool.
yeah.
Do you have a preference?
Um I would say I kind of like to just work on one show at a time versus like the 3 at a time or however many.
Because it's like, oh wait, this prop's not for this show.
Right, right. And you just generally they end up being so different that you're kind of focusing on different sort of moods, genres, etc. So it's nice to be able to just sit and live in one world for a little bit and really focus on that. And I take a lot of pride in my props craftsmanship. So it's also nice to just be able to sit and focus on these items and not have to worry about, 20 other items that I'm working on as well.
That's fair. I I feel like I can totally empathize with that because like this month of videos, as I'm trying to save the channel, my brain's like, okay, so a lot of it I don't know when it's being shot,
Right.
but I'm like I have these ideas, I don't even know if they're gonna happen, but hopefully this will work out. So I'm like having like these 5 different things,
and you're dipping your toes into so many different genres, just trying things on. It's kind of insane. It's just
it's mind-boggling,
Yeah.
trying to follow through, and where it's like, oh wait, this wasn't for this
Right.
thing, so
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
I totally get that, but yeah, it's good chatting with you.
It's good chatting with you too.
Thanks again for all the help.
Absolutely, anytime.
I have one more question though.
Yes.
How do you feel about canned peaches?
Nathaniel, we have been over this. Peaches don't come from a can. You get them off the tree. You go down to Georgia, you get them off the tree, and you eat them. You go to a farm stand in the summer, they make wonderful fresh peach ice cream. No cans.
But what if it has syrup in it?
No, absolutely not. No, peaches don't come in a can. I don't care what the song says.
But what if they're put in there by a man?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Peaches do come in cans.
They do not come from cans. Get them off the tree. Go down to Georgia. I don't care. Train, plane, automobile, whatever. Go get real peaches.
All right, Genna. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having me.